Kia ora, good evening. It's just over a week since Oracle Team USA shattered the hopes of our nation by winning the America's Cup in a spectacular final race. It's been labelled the greatest comeback in sporting history, how a team backed by an American billionaire could return from 8-1 down to claim victory. And leading the charge, the man who stared down almost inevitable defeat and never flinched, their charismatic skipper, Jimmy Spithill. He's the cocky Australian who played the villain so well. But who is Jimmy Spithill? What makes him tick? And what has life been like since he claimed yachting's biggest prize? Belinda Henley travelled to San Francisco to talk exclusively to the man they call the Spitfire.
Oracle Team USA!
To the victor, the spoils. The America's Cup, still America's Cup, and in so many ways, Jimmy Spitthill's Cup. The Aussie larrikin who pushed the boat, the rules, and his crew to the limits in one of the greatest comebacks in sporting history.
Jimmy, I guess I have to start by saying, through gritted teeth, congratulations on winning the America's Cup.
Does it hurt saying that?
A little bit.
Oh, look, thank you. I mean, it was one hell of a battle, and you saw two of the best teams in the world going head-to-head in San Francisco Bay in something I don't think any of us expected would be that dramatic.
It was an America's Cup the likes of which we've never seen before. Those magnificent men in their flying machines. Spectacular, epic battles which had us on the edge of our seats, a nation collectively holding its breath for a win that never came.
I'm a competitor, I'm an athlete, I want to take on the best, and it was fitting that I was able to take on the Kiwis. I'm not going to lie to you, I enjoyed the winning and I enjoyed beating them because I'm Australian and we know what the rivalry is like between Australia. But it's respect, that's what I've got. I mean, win or lose, when you go through a battle that we've just been through, you have nothing but respect for your fellow competitors. And, mate, they're a champion team.
Whatever you think of Jimmy Spithill, you've got to admire him. Cocky and confident, he's a study in attitude and incredible self-belief. And it's the skipper's determination that drove Oracle's comeback.
Race number 10 will go the way of the challenger. Emirates Team New Zealand will pick up the victory.
Early on, the Americans looked out for the count, losing 8 of the first 9 races. Team New Zealand seemingly unbeatable. Their boat faster, skipper Dean Barker completely in control. And at 8-1 up, New Zealand had the champagne on ice.
Imagine if these guys lost from here. What an upset that would be. I mean, they've almost got it in the bag.
But Spithill never stopped believing.
We feel we've got just as much chance to win this, and we're going to do everything we can.
We never gave up. Not once did we ever think we were out of this. And this is a team of fighters. You know, we just, like I said, they just fight to the end, you know. I mean, it doesn't matter. We almost joked about it on board a couple of times. Midway through the series, we were like, well, boys, we're in the corner here. We're taking quite a few shots, but we've just got to somehow work ourselves out of here.
Oracle had already had its fair share of drama in the lead-up to the Cup. One of its boats was dragged out to sea and almost destroyed after capsizing during training. And then they were penalised for making modifications to their practice boat that were against the rules.
4 days out from the start of the America's Cup, we lose our wing trimmer. We don't know who we can race with on the race team. They take away 2 race wings from us, and we're only a few days out from the competition. You know, it just gave us this drive and determination that, you know, we just said, look, it doesn't matter how steep this hill will be, we're not giving up. We're going to fight to the end, and they're, you know, almost literally they're going to have to kill us to stop us.
And so it unfolded. Needing 8 wins in a row, Oracle clawed their way back, outwitting, outmanoeuvring Team New Zealand, becoming unbeatable, sensationally taking out 8 straight wins to claim the Cup. So how did they do it? The dramatic turnaround led to talk it was engineered by secret technological enhancements, including an automated stabilisation system dubbed Herbie.
Let me be crystal clear for people out there because they're obviously very misled. There is no Herbie.
Herbie does not exist.
Herbie is that little Volkswagen car that drives around we see in the movies. Herbie does not exist. This super stability system that's out there, man, if anyone's got one, can they send it to me? Because we'll use it next time. You can't do that. It's a simple system. To adjust the dagger boards or the foils on these boats, you have to use human power. So grinders turn rotary pumps, that pumps oil, and there's a big ram that pushes the board forward and aft. Now to control the oil, or when you use the oil, I press a button fore or aft. It's as simple as that. We just can't believe people are coming up with that. And I think I'd be shocked if it was coming from Team New Zealand because they're sportsmen and they're champions, and that there's no way they would suggest something like that. They know that it was a fair fight and they were beaten fair and square. The latest one I heard was that Russell Coots had a remote control, and he was sitting on the chase boat, and he could power the grinders, he could drive the boat, trim the wing, trim the jib.
You'd be out of a job.
He could do everything. I wish he could have. It would have been a lot easier for us.
The fastest boat always wins, and Oracle in the end was that boat, dominating the rest of the regatta.
What do you think were the key changes you made to the boat that really made the difference?
Key changes would have been the bowsprit, but very early on in the series it was obvious they were a lot faster than us upwind, manoeuvring, tacking. So we were very, very aggressive. We decided to take off the bowsprit, which took away the option of a code 0. So had we have got light air, one of those races, where we needed the code 0, which we used a couple of times, we would have lost the race. The other big change was how we sailed the boat, our technique. As a crew, we started sailing the boat completely different to how we had been, and ultimately we learned how to foil a boat upwind.
The battle was fought off the water as much as on it. The skipper's press conferences a circus with Jimmy, the ringmaster.
And we don't care what the scoreline is, we're going to fight the whole way to the end, and at some point it's going to turn.
The brash Australian openly combative. Such a contrast to Dean Barker's quiet, steely resolve.
How much of what you say at those press conferences is a bit of mind games, a bit of brinkmanship with Barker and with Team New Zealand?
Oh, sure, I'd say most of it at the press conference is all about, trying to get in the other guy's head, playing mind games. Every time I stated that I believe we could win, that was 100% true. Every time I said we wouldn't give up and we'd fight to the end, that was 100% true, and that came straight from the heart, and that's because I know what this team's like. But, yeah, look, I'll make two ways about it. I was saying we were changing the boat every single night. Huge changes. We made a few changes here and there, but, we wanted it to be known that, geez, these guys are constantly changing the boat. They're doing huge things every night.
Boys have worked very, very hard, and we want this. We're going to work very hard tonight, and we'll come out ready to fight tomorrow.
I hope people really don't take any of the stuff that was said or the back and forwards between, let's say, the two teams and Dean and I the wrong way, because that's sport. You're in the freaking battle of your life and you're doing everything you can to get any sort of competitive advantage.
We know you Aussies love your sledging, don't you? Any opportunity.
Hey, it goes both ways. All right?
Oh, you guys are the masters of it.
Well, the thing I love about Australia and New Zealand is obviously the rivalry. I mean, it's just, it sort of reminds me of kind of like taking on your brother in a sport, in that if you lose against your brother, it's probably the worst thing because every single family function, you're never going to live it down.
Dean and Jimmy's rivalry spans more than a decade. They've raced against each other in 3 America's Cups.
What do you make of Dean as a person and as a sailor?
I think he's one of the, he's definitely one of the best sailors in the world, there's no question. As a person, he's, obviously, we have a lot of respect for each other. We're definitely not best mates. As most of New Zealand knows, I'm a neighbour of Dean now.
Won't be popping in for a beer?
I would, for sure. You know why? Because we've both been through a battle. And, I've always done that in sport, whether I've been playing rugby or boxing or whatever it's been. At the end of a battle, win or lose, you always go up and have a beer and against your competitor, because you've just been through something that it's hard, that people don't understand what you've been through. But he's one of the best New Zealand's ever produced.
Dean is a pretty broken man right now. Amid the celebrations, had a moment to think about that or thought about what him and the rest of the team are going through?
Oh, definitely. It was, surprisingly enough, it was one of the first things that I thought after we crossed the finish line. Dean is a champion, and Dean had the weight of a nation on his shoulders, and he shouldn't have. But the fact is, one thing that New Zealand media don't get is they're doing it. They're putting this load and pressure on the figureheads of their sporting teams. And we've seen it with the All Blacks. We've seen it, this is a classic example now with Dean. And it's just, to me, it seems wrong because the guy's out there, he's not sitting on the couch, he's out there having a go. And he's out there leading a fantastic team, and he's he's leaving everything on the sporting field. What more can you ask?
When you came off the water and you shook his hand, what did you say to him?
I said, thanks for the battle out there, mate. And I said, you'll be back, and I can't wait to take you on again.
Have you had a chance to speak to him since then?
No, I haven't. I wanted to... I'm going to send him a note, but I just wanted to, give him some time. We've both just had the battle of our lives, and, I've got nothing but respect, and, for sure. Look, they'll be back. I mean, they are, over the past decade, they have been the world's best sailing team.
Oracle's San Francisco base is emptying out, but Jimmy gives us a rare look up close at the boat which helped him clinch victory.
So now that we're in front of the boat that is actually the boat, can you point out where Herbie is so we can get a bit of an understanding of where that sits? Or has that been removed now?
Unfortunately, I know you guys would just love there to be some silver bullet somewhere that I could pull out. Unfortunately, the silver bullet is every single one of these employees. Hard work, dedication, blood, sweat and tears.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Spithill!
But it's Jimmy Spithill who's become the new pin-up boy of American sport. His epic duel with Team New Zealand has put yachting on the radar like never before.
It's a little bit sad for you now, kind of looking around and seeing there's just a handful of people left. All your mates have gone, the boat's being packed up. This is kind of the end.
Oh, no question, it's almost, a little bit depressing that when you operate at that level, and you take yourself out of your comfort zone for so long and you do it together, when you wake up the next day, well, what now?
The city's emptying out too.
Just over a week ago, and this area behind me was literally humming with the thousands of fans who descended on San Francisco. The crowds are now all gone, and attention has already shifted to the next America's Cup, with Australia being announced as the challenger of record. It will be the first time since 2000 Australia has had a team in the Cup, giving its sailors a chance to compete under their own national flag.
Well, look, what got me into America's Cup was Australia too. As a kid, I grew up near Colin Beashell and Rob Brown, who are on Australia too. I love that whole come from behind, never give up. The guys, they just banded together as a team and took it on. To know that Australia is finally getting back in the America's Cup, it's huge. I mean, it's about friggin' time that they got back into the game.
Jimmy Spithill and the America's Cup go back a long way. The youngest skipper to win the Cup for Oracle in 2010, he was just 20 years old when he led Young Australia, competing in New Zealand.
New Zealand's like a second home to me. I did my very first America's Cup campaign in New Zealand with a team called Young Australia in 2000. Now, our campaign was on a barge, We were everyone had these nice big bases in the viaduct. Well, we had a barge. We had the oldest boat there that had just come last. But what did the New Zealand public do? They got behind us and they took us on like their own sons and their family. And of course, I'll never ever forget that. I mean, I've got family friends there that are like my second parents. My best mate's from New Zealand. He's been over here supporting me this whole time. My wife and I met in New Zealand. We got married in New Zealand, in Queenstown. We've spent such a big part of our life there. And if it wasn't for this game constantly moving, we'd be living in New Zealand because we love the way of life. We love that Kiwi ingenuity, the down to earth, and that's how we want our kids to grow up. So it's kind of ironic that we've stopped the event going there.
Do you think they're going to let you back in next time you try and get into the country?
Luckily, I know a couple of guys that are guys
I'm
that
not
you
so
would
sure,
not
Jimmy.
I've got some of my best mates are guys you wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of.
Joe Newton is Oracle's wing trimmer, a friend and sailing partner of Jimmy's since they were kids. He says even back then, winning was the only option.
I remember sitting in the yacht club a couple of times, you know, having a beer or just relaxing, and I'd look out and there'd be Jimmy out training still. And it just always struck me as thinking, you know, he just wanted to win that badly. Jimmy's an incredibly naturally gifted athlete, and he does well at whatever he turns to. He's got a pretty successful career in boxing from the early days. He's taken up stand-up paddleboarding, and he's got some great results in that. So, you know, as a sportsman, as an athlete, he's he's head and shoulders above pretty much any guy in the America's Cup.
You've been called the Spitfire, a pit bull. One journalist said you had precocious talent. What drives you to be the best, and what is it about your nature that makes you so good at what you do?
The fear of letting down my teammates. You do this game for yourself, obviously, and your family, but when you look around and see how much blood, sweat and tears the shore team, the boat builders, the other sailors, everyone else is putting in, you just get this motivation and energy that you just, you're just in fear of letting your mates down.
Spitthill's crewmate felt it too. The camaraderie on board, the hunger to win.
We were all like this on board, but Jimmy especially. Like when we were 8-1 down, he still completely believed that we could win. And you know, I think that's what the really good guys have got, is that they can just find that little extra gear when they need it, and still stand up. I mean, anybody that's played sport knows how hard it is when the chips are down, and you know, on the Kiwi side, how hard it is when you're at the start of a losing streak and you can feel it slipping away.
And Joe Newton has his own take on what was the catalyst for Oracle's remarkable turnaround.
Ben Ainsley and Tom and Jimmy instantly clicked, and there was a chemistry there that just wasn't there previously. And you know, there's no real reason for that happening. It just really worked, and that's why I think we had so much confidence. You know, when we were 8-1 down and then 8-2, 8-3, it just sort of started to feel like we were a little bit invincible. You know, we had a little speed edge all of a sudden, and the boys at the back were just working well, and it just felt like you're in one of those regattas where, you know, whether it be match racing in one design boats or in a laser or anything, it just really felt like you were going to be unstoppable.
You don't need to spend long with Jimmy Spithill to see what makes him tick. Dedicated to the point of obsessive, his entire world geared towards being the best.
One of my heroes is, I'm going to cop it from my Australian friends, but one of my heroes is a New Zealander called Charles Upham, who was twice awarded the Victoria Cross. And, I've had a fascination with, Special Forces and SAS and Navy SEALs and what, Charles Upham did, in the fact that it's a group of guys that will do anything for their mates. And when they're in the battle, they're in fear of letting their mates down. And they'll do anything, whatever. They'll jump on the fire for their mates. And that's what I love about this team.
What do you do outside of yachting? What are your passions when you're not on the water or in a boat?
Anything competitive. I just love, honestly, I get out of bed for competition and to be pushed. I love being taken out of my comfort zone, and I think the only way you can learn about yourself is to really put some pressure on yourself. And for me, most of the educations come from defeats.
34-year-old Jimmy is married and a father of 2. He and his family live in San Francisco.
What kind of dad are you? You tough taskmaster?
Terrible. I'm never there.
Jimmy, how would your wife describe you?
Obsessed.
Obsessed about everything in your life, not just yachting?
I think just competitive. It's, I think if you ask my wife, and especially let's say my brother and my sister, that you just put it this way, it'd be hard to enjoy a family board game with me. It would just, I don't know. I mean, I'm just competitive, you know. The fact is, ever since I've been a kid, I've always had to work harder than the other guys. You know, I'm just an average guy. You know, I've got the same amount of talent as any person.
The same amount of talent maybe, but tenacity in spades. It was such an incredible America's Cup for all of us, but most of all for Jimmy Spithill and his boys, with an unbelievable fairy tale ending that's still sinking in.
This must be unlike anything else you've experienced.
This is without a doubt the biggest win for everyone involved in this team. And honestly, I just don't think they realise it yet. It's just too much to take in a few days after the event. It's something that people have to reflect on and let it settle in over time, and everyone's going to do it in a different way. But I think they'll all come back to the same analogy in that, what a team.
Coming up on 6